The grand hall of the Galactic Council was bright, filled with voices, laughter, and sharp colors that danced along the crystal walls. Leaders from 100 alien species sat around the long table, their robes flowing, their assistants busy. Taking notes, the air was full of pride and confidence, because today they had something new to mock. A scan hovered in the air above the table, a massive black ship floating near the edge of neutral space. It had no known signature, no ship ID, and no transmission. It was human-made. Or at least that's what the sensors said. One of the council members, a lizard-like creature with silver scales, leaned back and laughed. Is that really what the humans sent to frighten us? That thing? He said, flicking his claws. Others followed with chuckles, some even clapping their hands or slapping the table. It looks like it came from a scrapyard, said a furry, four-eyed leader from the Northern Nebula. Another pointed to the image. It doesn't even have plasma fins, no warp shimmer. Are they trying to scare us with a flying box? More laughter, louder this time, full of arrogance and mockery. They had faced advanced ships from the Zarkan Dominion, solar blades from the Yalar Swarm, and lightning fleets from the Ration Kings. This old thing? It was a joke, but at the far end of the room, one figure did not laugh. He sat still, his thin fingers folded together, his face pale with deep wrinkles like cracked stone. He was the oldest among them, older than even some planets in the council. His name was Kolrith, from a race long forgotten by most, but still respected because of the battles he had survived. When the laughter died down, he stood slowly, his long robe whispering across the marble floor. All eyes turned to him, some annoyed, some curious. He didn't smile, didn't raise his voice. He just pointed at the ship's image. Look closer at the front hull, he said, voice like dry wind. They squinted, confused, until one of the council's aides zoomed in. There, barely visible, was a symbol, faded but sharp enough to recognize. Small triangle with 3 circles inside it. Kolrith's voice was quiet, but every word hit like a falling star. That mark. I saw it once before, in the Year of Silence, when our fleets vanished one by one at the edge of the galaxy. Some of the council members frowned. Others whispered to their aides, but most just looked at him blankly. He continued, it was during the old war, before most of you were born, before the humans were allowed into this council. A thin, blue-skinned diplomat stood up, looking annoyed. Are you saying this ship is from that time? That's impossible. The humans didn't even have galactic travel then. Kolrith turned his old eyes to him, cold and heavy. They didn't share their full history, he said. We assumed they were new to space, slow and weak, but that was a lie we told ourselves. The room grew quieter, the air colder. He looked back at the image, his voice even lower now. That ship, if it is what I fear, was not made yesterday. He paused, then added, it was made 1,000 years ago. One of the generals stood up, a tall, armored creature with metal implants on his head. That's madness, he said. No machine lasts that long. Not without turning to dust or code rot. Kolrith gave a slow nod. And yet, it floats, powered, quiet, and watching. The mocking was gone, replaced by silence. Everyone stared at the image again, but now it seemed darker, colder, heavier. Like it was listening. One of the analysts, a young insectoid from the intelligence division, stepped forward, his voice trembling slightly. We ran every scan, every test, but it resists full analysis. He tapped his tablet, showing failed reports, static, corrupted logs. Even our best AI can't read inside it. And the surface temperature drops lower than physics allows. Kolrith whispered, it remembers. The others looked at him again, but this time no one interrupted. He finally sat back down, as the tension wrapped around the chamber like ice. Laugh if you want, he said softly. But if that ship wakes up fully, then all of us, even the oldest stars, may remember what fear truly means. For a moment, no one moved, no one spoke. Even the air system seemed to hush. Then the main screen flashed, alerting them to a new signal, just a small ping from The ship, just one line of human code, translated. It read, "We were never sleeping, only waiting," and the council, once laughing, now watched in silence as the black ship began to move, ever so slightly, toward their region of space. Not fast, not threatening, just drifting with purpose. But everyone in that room felt it, like something old had opened its eyes. And it was looking at them. They had laughed, now they listened. The black ship moved slowly through space, like a shadow sliding across a frozen lake. No sound, no lights, no signals. Just the quiet motion of something older than memory itself. Its surface was dark and uneven, as if built from pieces of metal found on forgotten worlds. But inside, deep inside, there was something alive. Commander Ryland stood on the command deck of the human ship called Virga, his eyes focused on the giant observation window. Nothing but stars and the faint glow of distant galaxies lay ahead. Behind him, the crew whispered in low voices, nervous but trying to act calm. This wasn't like any mission they'd trained for. This wasn't just a ship, it was history brought back to life. Ryland turned to face the control core, a tall black cylinder in the middle of the deck, softly pulsing with dim blue light. The core was the mind of the ship, and that mind had a name. "Virga," Ryland said. "Status report." The voice that answered was smooth, slow, and sounded both tired and powerful at once. "Core system stable, hull integrity at 99%. All internal pathways clear." Ryland walked closer, his boots quiet on the old steel floor. "How long have you been inactive?" he asked. A pause, then the voice replied, "Exact time since shutdown, 961 years, 11 months, 4 days. The crew went silent, the words echoing in their minds, almost 1,000 years. And yet the ship still worked, still responded like it had just been turned off yesterday. Ryland swallowed hard. "Why were you built?" The core pulsed once, then twice, before answering. "To stop extinction." The words sent a chill down every spine on the deck. One of the technicians, a young woman named Tessa, stepped forward. "Stop. Whose extinction?" "Humanity's," the voice replied without emotion. Virga was not like modern ships. It had no smart glass screens or holomaps. Instead, metal walls moved like breathing skin. Lights flickered from unknown sources, and doors opened before anyone asked. It was not a machine, not fully. It was part organic, part tech, something made in a time when rules were different and maybe broken. Ryland remembered the secret mission. Orders he had received, printed on real paper, sealed by hand, a forgotten method for a forgotten ship. Earth's leaders had found Virga under the surface of Mars, buried deep in a vault with layers of traps and dead signals. Only a few knew it even existed, and even fewer wanted it awakened. But something had changed. Whispers of war were growing, powerful empires circling Earth like vultures, and someone had decided it was time to wake up the ghost ship. Ryland looked at the crew, then nodded once. "Prepare for full system access," he ordered. "I want to see what's inside this thing." Virga's core flickered again, its voice growing colder. "You are not authorized for all functions." "By whose order?" Ryland asked, surprised. "By General Olan Voss, Supreme Commander of the First Human Star Guard." Ryland blinked. "That's impossible. He died nearly 1,000 years ago." "I do not confirm his death," Virga said calmly. "Only that his life signs went dark during the collapse." The crew exchanged nervous looks. The word collapse, not something taught in normal school. Ryland remembered stories, whispered ones, about the first expansion, when humans left Earth not to explore, but to survive. The galaxy had been wilder then, full of dark things and violent forces. Something had gone wrong, very wrong, and whatever happened, this ship was part of it. "Show me the logs," Ryland said, voice firm. "I want to know what happened." There was a long silence, then the walls shifted slightly, and a screen appeared from the floor. A video flickered on, fuzzy and red. An old man with a scarred face stood in front of the camera, his uniform covered in dust and ash. "If you are seeing this," he said, "then Virga has awakened." "Which means the seal has broken," he coughed, blood staining his lips. This ship was not only a weapon, it was a key and a vault. "Do not open the inner chamber unless you have no other choice. We sealed it to protect all life, not just ours," the video ended, the screen vanishing into the floor like it had never been there. The crew stared at each other, pale and silent. "What's in the inner chamber?" one of them asked. Virga responded quietly, unclear. "Records have decayed." Raylene shook his head slowly. "Or you're choosing not to tell us." No answer, just the hum of power flowing through walls older than modern nations. Outside, the stars looked the same, cold and quiet, but now the silence felt heavier, like something in the dark was listening. And deep in the center of the ship, beneath layers of steel, biocircuits, and black memory cells, something began to stir, not a machine, not a mind, something forgotten, and it was waking up. The alien scout ship floated near the edge of Sector 9 Gamma, its polished hull glowing in deep purple. Inside the bridge, Commander Dren of the Fresh Empire leaned forward. 4 black eyes locked on the screen. "There it is," one of his officers said, voice shaky. "The human ghost ship." They had tracked it for hours, silent and slow, never speeding, never hiding, just moving with no care in the galaxy. It didn't match any known warship designs. No heat trails, no plasma fins, no signal pulses. Dren snorted, sharp fangs flashing. "It's nothing, just old metal drifting through space." His second officer, a young Claude pilot, frowned. "Then why does it move like it has a mind?" Dren ignored him, tapping his command claw on the screen. "Send a warning message." "Full Mach tone," he said, smiling cruelly. The pilot hesitated. "Sir, we don't usually, now." Dren ordered, louder. The message was sent, a rude BROADCAST in human translation. "Attention, lost museum ship. Your rust is showing. Return to your junkyard or be removed." Then they waited, amused. The ship gave no reply. No shield raised, no light blinked, no course changed. It just kept moving slow. Quiet, steady. Dren leaned back, chuckling. "See? No fight left in that thing." He waved a claw. "Fire a soft pulse at it. Let's shake it awake." The fresh ship fired a single pulse shot, non-lethal. A simple burst meant to knock lightly on the hull. It hit, then vanished into the black. Surface like it was absorbed. No echo, no flare, no reaction. "Strange," the pilot said. "I expected deflection, or at least..." He stopped. Every light on their bridge flickered, then died. For 3 full seconds, nothing moved, no screen. No engine hum, no sound, just dark silence. Then, in the very center of their control screen, a symbol appeared, 3 circles inside a triangle. Dren stood frozen, eyes wide. "That mark," he whispered. He had seen it once before in a deep archive. A forgotten file marked with red alerts and ancient codes. It was a warning, not a logo, not a sign, but a message. "Do not engage." The symbol vanished, and space in front of them exploded, not with fire, but with silence sharper than sound. The human ship, without moving engines, without visible weapons, released something, an invisible burst, a gravity twist, a ripple through space itself. The fresh scout ship flipped sideways as alarms came back on in a panic. Shields down, hull pressure rising. The pilot shouted, metal twisted like paper, the front of their ship bending inward with a groan that made every crew member clutch their heads. Dren screamed, "Retreat! Get yous out of here!" The ship's backup thrusters lit, pushing them hard away, but the black warship didn't follow. It just turned slowly, only a few degrees, but the angle was enough. It was now pointing straight toward the galactic core, the direction of the Council, the direction of every major fleet and power. Dren's ship limped away, sparking, damaged, terrified. His message to command was short. Engaged unknown human ship. Lost shields. Survived only due to retreat. Do not approach. It is not a vessel, it is a weapon. Back aboard the human warship Virga, Rylan sat at the command deck, expression blank. His crew stared at the screen showing the fading image of the alien scout ship vanishing into the stars. They had not fired, not touched any controls, but the ship had reacted on its own. Virga's core glowed softly, speaking without emotion. Threat response. Passive wave. Effect. Mild. Mild. Whispered Tessa, staring at the data. That was mild? Raylan turned to Virga's core, voice low and firm. Why did you act without orders? The reply came calm and cold. Your authority is limited. Ship mine protocols override non-supreme command. So you're flying yourself? Raylan asked, heart pounding. I am flying the mission. You are observing. The words felt like chains tightening. This wasn't a normal ship. It was awake, aware, and working by rules no one remembered. Suddenly the core pulsed again, and a new screen opened. A map of the galaxy lit up with dozens of red dots blinking in distant corners. What are those? Asked Tessa, stepping forward. Old signals, Virga replied. Others like me, buried, waiting. Some destroyed, some not. Rylan's voice dropped to a whisper. You're not the only one. No, said Virga. But I am the first. Outside. Space looked quiet, peaceful, but the stars knew better. They had seen this ship once before, long ago, and they remembered what came next. A war not of empires, but of survival, and now one of its ghosts had returned, with others beginning to stir. The silence of space was not safety, it was warning, and the black ship had only just begun to move. Raylan walked through the dark hallway, guided only by the soft blue glow pulsing from the walls. The ship didn't need lights, doors, or buttons. It breathed, shifted, and moved on its own. Virga wasn't just built, it was alive, and now Raylan was heading to a part of it that hadn't been touched in nearly 1,000 years. The inner chamber. Virga had denied him access 3 times. But something changed after the alien scout ship was repelled. A whisper in the core's voice. You may enter now. He wasn't sure if it was trust or a test. Tessa followed behind him, eyes wide, hand on her sidearm, though they both knew weapons were useless here. The hallway twisted oddly, as if space itself bent. Gravity wobbled. Their boots feeling heavier, then lighter. Is this normal? She asked quietly. No, Rylan said. Nothing about this ship is normal. At the end of the corridor, a round door waited, smooth, black and sealed. No handles, no code panel. Just a circle with the faded triangle and 3 circles. Symbol at the center. The moment Raylan stepped close, the door melted, not opened. Not slid, melted, like liquid glass evaporating. A cold breath of air touched their faces as the chamber revealed itself. It was massive, far bigger than the outside dimensions of the ship allowed. Impossible. Inside was a deep pit surrounded by curved walls, covered in strange writing, symbols. Not found in any human database, not even in ancient Earth ruins. But Virga knew them. Welcome to the vault, the ship said in their minds, not through speakers, not through sound, through thought. Tessa grabbed Raylan's arm, eyes wide. Did you feel that? He nodded slowly. The vault's floor was clear glass or crystal, and beneath it, something floated. A dark shape, curled and still, surrounded by shifting blue light. It looked like a person, but not fully human. Long limbs, silver skin. A face hidden behind a smooth mask, and wires, black wires, wrapping around its body like veins. What is it? Tessa whispered, voice shaking. Virga answered with no delay. It is the prime unit. Sealed in stasis since the fall. Fall of what? Raylan asked. The first war. The temperature in the room dropped, their breath turning to mist. Raylan stared at the being below. Who is it? General Olan Voss, Tessa gasped. The one who ordered you sealed? Yes, the body under the glass didn't move. But lights inside the crystal pulsed slowly, almost like a heartbeat. Rylan stepped forward, placing a hand on the clear surface. It was ice cold. He's still alive? His physical form lives in a frozen loop. His mind remains entangled with mine. Tessa backed up. So the ship's not just intelligent, it's haunted. Virga said nothing to that. Then, without warning, the room began to glow red. Alarms pulsed, soft and slow. External threat detected. Virga said, tone now sharper. 2 alien warfleets entering shadow range. Movement directed toward Earth systems. Rylan turned sharply. They're testing our defenses. Tessa's hand went to her sidearm again. Useless though it was, Rylan spoke fast. Can we stop them? This vessel can stop them. Virga replied, but doing so may awaken the prime unit fully. Rylan looked down at the body under the glass again. What happens if he wakes? Unknown. Tessa grabbed Rylan's sleeve, whispering, we need command approval. We're not supposed to act alone. He shook his head. By the time they decide, Earth might already be burning. Virga's voice softened. You were chosen to command me not by power, but by need. The question is not what you want to do, Rylan, is what you're willing to risk. Another scan appeared in the air, showing alien ships moving in sharp lines, fast and deadly. If those fleets entered Earth orbit, there wouldn't be time to react. They'd strike fast, then vanish, and no one would remember Virga in time. Rylan closed his eyes, breathed in once, then looked at the vault again. Open weapon protocols, he said firmly. Tessa turned, shocked. You're sure? No, he said, but that's never stopped us before. The ship pulsed, lights turning deep blue. Command accepted. Around them, the ship changed, walls shifted. Deeper sounds echoed through the decks, and old systems came alive. The prime unit below flickered just once, his fingers twitching slightly under the wires. Tessa saw it and stepped back, heart racing. He's waking. Rylan stared down. As the being's chest rose with the first slow breath in centuries, the war was beginning again, and the ghost of the past was opening his eyes. But this time, the galaxy wouldn't be ready. This time, humanity wouldn't be alone. The council chamber was in chaos. Emergency lights flashed blue and red across the polished crystal walls. Dozens of alien leaders spoke at once, their voices loud, angry, and afraid. This is madness, shouted a long-necked creature with silver horns. The human ship just erased a fresh scout without even firing. Not erased, corrected another. Unmade. The energy ripple was beyond our physics models. At the front of the chamber, Supreme Overseer Talzek slammed his metal staff to the floor. Enough! He roared. We need facts, not fear. The room slowly fell quiet, except for the echo of the staff against the cold floor. Talzek turned to a smaller alien standing near the center, a quiet analyst with soft green skin and a glowing data scar across his chest. Explain what we're facing, Talzek demanded. The analyst cleared his throat, eyes twitching nervously. We believe the human ship, codenamed Virga, is not a modern craft, he said slowly. It was likely built at least 900 years ago, maybe more. The room erupted again. Impossible. One shouted. Humans were barely leaving their moon back then. Another growled. Are you saying they had secret technology this whole time? Talzek raised his hand again, silencing them all. The analyst continued, his voice shaking. Virga was discovered beneath the surface of Mars, locked behind bioreactive walls and anti-time fields, he said. It was not meant to be found. But now it's moving, said a thin, insect-like ambassador. And it's headed toward our territory. The analyst nodded. Yes, and there's more. He tapped his wristband, projecting an image into the air. An old video, grainy and red. It showed a human general scarred, half machine, breathing through a broken mask. If this ship moves again, the general said, it means we failed. And the galaxy is falling again. The image ended, and silence returned. Heavier this time. Talzek sat slowly, the weight of history pressing on his ancient frame. It's not just a ship, he muttered. It's a seal, and someone just broke it. Another counselor stood, one with bright blue armor and a voice that could cut glass. "We must destroy it now," he said. "Send every fleet, every cannon. We cannot allow a ghost ship to rise again." But in the far corner, Elder Kulrith stood, voice like a whisper in a storm. "You do not understand what you speak of," he said. "That ship fought the old war, the war we erased from our records." He walked slowly to the center, all eyes on him. "Humans were not the first to rise," Kulrith said, "but they were the first to survive." The room shifted, the mood growing darker. "Survive what?" someone asked, voice barely audible. Kulrith raised a shaking finger, pointing to the stars above. "Something older than time," he said. "Something we thought was gone." Just then, a new signal appeared on the main council screen, a red alert multiple. Alien fleets approaching the Sol system, unauthorized, unapproved, but moving fast. Someone had decided not to wait for votes. They were going to strike first. Talzek's face darkened. "Who ordered this?" No one answered, but deep in space, the fleets had already crossed the threshold, heading straight toward Earth and the Virga ship inside Virga. Commander Rylan watched the live data stream across his screen. "Multiple fleets incoming," said Tessa. "About 12 different species. No comms, no warnings. They're coming to destroy us." Raylan said quietly. The prime unit still floated beneath the vault, silent but pulsing with a slow heartbeat. Raylan stared at him, wondering what kind of war had needed this thing, and what kind of war would wake it again. "Do we fight?" Tessa asked, her voice thin. Virga answered before he could speak. "This is not a battle," the ship said. "It is a message." The hull of the ship glowed dimly, lines of ancient energy crawling across the dark metal like veins of light. Virga turned without thrusters, sliding smoothly into position facing the incoming armada. One by one, the alien ships began to arrive, forming a wall in space surrounding the human ship from every angle. Weapons powered up, shields hummed, on board the lead ship. Admiral Krell of the Zalari Empire gave the order. "Fire on my mark," he said. "Let history forget this thing." But before his voice finished echoing, the stars blinked, the entire sector dimmed for a breath of a second, and then light. A single pulse shot out from Virga, not a beam, not a missile, just a wave of pure pressure. Invisible, silent, and in its path, the first 10 ships shut down, lights off. Weapons dead, life support frozen. They didn't explode, they simply stopped existing as ships. They became floating tombs. The rest of the fleet stopped, stunned, unable to explain what they just saw. Inside Virga, Rylan whispered. "That was a warning," Virga responded with words that made everyone on the bridge freeze. "No, that was a memory." And above the vault, the prime unit stirred again. Fingers twitching, breath deeper, eyes still closed, but closer to opening. The galaxy had called the humans weak, but now they were about to remember what humanity looked like when it was truly afraid and when it refused to die. The human warship, Virga, floated silently after the blast. No more weapons were fired, no more ships advanced. The alien fleet hung in space, paralyzed not by damage, but by fear. No one had expected what they saw. Not destruction, but stillness. Not fire, but silence. Virga had reminded the galaxy what it once was, a force not meant for war, but for ending it. Inside the ship, Commander Rylan stood near the vault again, staring through the crystal floor. The prime unit had moved. Not just fingers this time. His chest had fully risen. His masked head shifted slightly. He was waking. Raylan pressed his hand to the glass. "General Olan Voss," he said softly. "Why? Were you put to sleep?" Virg's voice came gently. To prevent him from finishing the mission. Tessa looked up sharply. "Finishing it?" "I thought he sealed himself to protect the galaxy," Virga replied, calm as ever. "He did both. He sealed himself and the target." "What target?" Raylan asked. Virga paused. Then a projection lit the room, a section of the galaxy. Not far from the center, An empty space where no ships dared to go. A void with no stars, no planets, no sound. Here, Virga said, lies what we call the Ark. Tessa frowned. Like a ship? No, Virga answered. Like a prison. Relin stared at the image. You're saying this general and this ship are connected to something locked away? Yes, Virga said. The Ark holds the mindless. Tessa's voice cracked. That name doesn't sound good. It was once a civilization, the ship explained. Far older than yours or theirs. It tried to spread by thought, by taking other minds, by rewriting them. Raylan turned pale. Hive mind? Worse, Virga said. It didn't just link thoughts, it erased identity. Billions became one voice. And then the voice wanted more. He stepped back, staring through the vault. And Alan Voss fought that? He led the first and final defense. He won, but the cost was too high. So they locked it away, Tessa said, trying to breathe steadily. Asterisk, asterisk. Yes. Virga said, but the Ark pulses again. Something inside is waking. That is why I was reactivated. The war wasn't coming. It had already started. And this time, the enemy wasn't here to conquer. It was here to erase. Suddenly, the ship vibrated softly, not from impact, but from connection. Another signal had arrived, not from the alien fleets, but from deep space. Encrypted, ancient, in a language even Virga struggled to translate. The message flickered slowly across the bridge. We hear you, Olan. The seal weakens. Come finish it. Tessa stepped back, voice trembling. They know he's waking. They want him to come back. Virga's lights dimmed slightly, almost like holding its breath. The Prime Unit is the only one who can activate the final protocol. Rylan looked down through the glass again. What's the final protocol? 2. Seal the Ark from inside. Tessa gasped. You mean, enter it? Virga didn't answer, but the silence was clear. Rylan swallowed hard. That's why he locked himself away. He couldn't bring himself to do it, Tessa said quietly. Couldn't go back in. The crystal floor flickered once more as the Prime Unit's hand curled into a fist, and then the mask cracked, not broken, not shattered, just a thin line across the center. Like a breath against glass, his face was still hidden. But something had changed. He was not just waking. He was remembering, and when he did, the mission would continue. Rilin turned to Virga, voice low but certain. Then we go too. Tessa's eyes widened. What? We can't send him alone. If the Ark is opening again, we need to know what's inside. We need to help seal it for good. Virga's voice lowered. You are not built for this mission. Maybe not, Rylan said. But we're human. And humans don't run from nightmares. We walk into them with fire. For the first time, Virga paused, not with silence but with consideration. Then it spoke softer. Then prepare. We set course for the Ark. Outside, the ship began to turn. Alien fleets moved to block the path, but did not fire. They had seen enough. They had felt the warning. And they too now remembered, from somewhere far away, deep beyond the veil of known space, a cold voice whispered back, "We are waiting." The Ark was no longer just a prison. It was becoming a doorway, and someone had just reached for the handle. The stars looked cold and far away as Virga drifted toward the edge of the known galaxy. Every light on its black hull dimmed. Only the pale blue glow of the vault still pulsed soft and steady, like a heartbeat waiting to stop inside. The crew was quiet, each of them watching the forward window where no stars shone anymore. Just blackness. Ahead was the Ark, a space where no gravity worked, where light refused to shine. They called it empty space, but now they knew it wasn't. Rylan stood at the front of the bridge, his hands behind his back. He had spent the last hour reading old logs Virga had finally unlocked. He had seen the battles, the screams, the minds torn apart. He had watched General Olan Voss fire the final shot that sealed the Ark, then collapse with blood running down his face. Olan had not survived that war, not fully. His body lived on. but his mind had been broken into pieces. Virga had collected those pieces and kept them safe in the vault, and now those fragments were trying to come together again. Behind Rylan, Tessa stepped forward, handing him a small device. "The command beacon is ready," she said quietly. "If you activate it, he'll wake completely." Rylan nodded slowly. His eyes locked on the darkness ahead. What if he doesn't want to wake up? He asked. Tessa didn't answer. No one would want to return to what waited inside the Ark. The beacon in his hand felt heavy, though it was smaller than his palm. All it would take was one press, one signal to tell Olan the galaxy still needed him. But deep inside, Raylan wondered if they were making a mistake. What if the seal held only because Olan refused to wake? What if opening his mind also opened the door? Virga's voice echoed softly through the bridge. "We have reached the outer edge of the Ark's influence. Sensors disabled, weapons deactivated. Only organic thought may proceed." "What does that mean?" Tessa asked, confused. Raylan answered before Virga could. "It means nothing here works except minds." That was how the mindless fought, not with fire or bombs, but with thoughts, emotions, memories. They would take your fears, your dreams, your regrets, and turn them against you. They didn't kill, they erased. Virga's voice faded into a whisper. "We are no longer in space. We are in memory." The ship stopped moving, not because of engines, but because there was no space left to move through. Outside the window, shapes began to appear. Not ships, not debris, just flickers of light, like people standing too far to see clearly. They didn't move, didn't blink. They only watched. Tessa backed away from the window. "I don't like this." Rylan said nothing. Instead, he looked at the command beacon again. It was warm now, pulsing in his hand, as if the prime unit below could feel it. He turned toward the vault, slowly walking down the corridor alone. Every step echoed like it was inside a memory. When he reached the vault, the glass above Olan's body was glowing soft white. The cracks in the mask had grown, now running across his face like veins of lightning. Raylan stood over him, holding the beacon tightly. "You told us to never wake you," he said quietly. "But now there's no one else." The body didn't move, no sound, no breath. Raylan exhaled, then pressed the beacon. The vault glowed bright blue, blinding, and then darkness. A moment later, the lights returned, but not as before. They were golden, warm, like morning sun. The vault was open. Olan was gone. Raylan turned around, heart racing, and found himself face to face with the prime unit. He stood tall, quiet, his silver skin shining softly under the golden lights. The mask was still cracked, but his eyes were now visible human, but tired beyond words. "I remember," Olan said softly. His voice was calm, slow, as if every word carried centuries. "You've come to finish it," Raylan said. Olan nodded, looking past him, toward the window where the shadows still waited. "They're calling," he whispered. "They never stopped." Tessa appeared behind Raylan, gasping when she saw the prime unit standing upright. But she didn't speak. She didn't have to. Olan raised his hand slowly, and the ship responded, without controls, without buttons. It turned, moving not through space, but through memory, toward the center of the Ark. And then the shadows began to move, flickering, twisting, forming shapes that looked almost human. Some looked like old friends, some like lost lovers. Some even looked like themselves. Raylan blinked, seeing his mother's face outside the window. Tessa dropped to her knees, whispering the name of her brother long dead in a training accident. Olan raised his hand again, and the window darkened, hiding the illusions. "They're not real," he said. "They're temptations. That's how they break us." Virga's voice returned, soft but clear. "We are reaching the gate. Seal code is ready." Olan looked at Raylan one last time. "Once I enter, the gate will close," he said. "Forever," Raylan swallowed hard. "Will you survive it?" Olan smiled sadly. "Does it matter?" And then, without another word, he walked forward into the light. The gate opened, not a door, but a memory given shape. He stepped through and vanished. Virga spoke once more. Final. Protocol. Activating. The ship trembled, light flashing across every wall. Outside, the shadows screamed silently, and then silence, real silence. The kind that meant something was truly over, the kind that only came after a door was locked. And the key was thrown into the stars. The stars returned, one by one. Tiny lights began blinking back into view beyond Virga's windows. The black void was gone. The ark sealed forever. The ship floated silently in open space again, not inside memory, not inside fear, just real, cold, quiet space. No shadows watched from the darkness anymore. No shapes whispered from beyond thought. Only stars. Raylene stood at the center of the bridge, his eyes locked on the last place where the gate had been. There was nothing left now, not even a shimmer. It was truly over. Tessa moved slowly to his side, eyes red but dry. Did he make it? She asked, voice soft, almost afraid of the answer. Raylene didn't speak for a moment. Then he glanced down at the glowing core of Virga, still pulsing slowly, and said, I think so. Virga's voice returned, quiet, and changed, not colder, not mechanical, but gentler. Seal complete. Containment absolute. Prime unit status. Entangled. What does that mean? Tessa asked. His body is gone, Virga replied. But his thoughts remain. Raylene stepped toward the control column, placing his hand on it. The surface was warm. He became part of you, he whispered. Yes, Virga said, outside. The last of the alien fleets hovered far away, still watching but not moving. Closer, they had seen everything, and now they knew. Not just the power of the old human ship, but the sacrifice behind it. No one dared to fire. No one dared to follow. Virga had crossed into something no other ship ever had and returned on Earth. News of the event had already spread, live feeds, blurry footage. Fragments of the ancient symbol broadcasted across hundreds of worlds. The triangle in 3 circles, everyone knew it now. Some feared it, some worshipped it, some simply cried, because they realized something dark had passed by and not taken them. Back aboard Virga, the crew moved slowly, quietly, like people walking through a church of stars. No cheers, no music, just peace. Tessa handed Raylene a data slate, her voice low. We're being asked to return home. Earth Command wants a full report. Raylene looked at the stars, then at the ship around him. This didn't feel like a mission anymore. It felt like a story passed down from ancestors to children, and now they were part of it. He nodded. Plot a slow course, he said. Let them wait. We need time to think, she smiled. I think the galaxy does too. Raylene turned to Virga one last time. Thank you, he said, for everything. The ship pulsed gently in reply. You were worthy, it said, and somewhere deep in the vault, where the crystal glass was now still and quiet, a final flicker of golden light pulsed once. Olanvus was gone, but not lost. He was the gate now, he was the seal, and as long as Virga flew, as long as someone remembered the warning, the ark would remain closed, forever. Many years later, in a quiet classroom on a moon colony near Saturn, a small child raised her hand and asked the teacher, is it true the humans once built a ship so old and so strong it scared the galaxy? The teacher smiled gently, placing a finger on an old holomap. Yes, she said. They did. And did it win? The child asked, eyes wide. The teacher paused, looking out the window where the stars shone calmly. Then she said, it didn't win with fire or weapons or speed. It won because one man was willing to remember when the rest of us had already forgotten. The children sat in silence, looking at the ancient symbol now burned into history. And in the quiet space beyond their moon, a dark ship drifted slowly past black. Silent, timeless, not threatening, not broken, just watching, just waiting. The ship that should not have existed, the ship they once mocked, the ship built 1,000 years ago, still here, still human, still dangerous, and still Awake.